Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
It's never too early to set expectations and goals for your child's education. The UA College Savings Plan provides opportunities that can help you reach your educational savings goals. Save in Alaska. Study anywhere. There is more information available by calling 1-888, the number 4, and then Alaska. This message sponsored by the UA College Savings Plan.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us here at KAKM for Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. On the advisory map for tonight, we've got dense fog advisories out here north of Sitka there, Hoona, around the Hoona area, and also over the about the central inside waters, Wrangell, Petersburg, and those areas. Otherwise, a pretty good evening in store for the southeast coast there. We've got wind advisories continuing for tonight for the eastern Alaska range areas for gusts to 50 miles an hour through the passes. And also a wind advisory is out for the northern Kuskokwim Valley, and that's again over toward the Alaska range for those winds gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour. And that's out through tonight. And then a winter weather advisory for St. Lawrence Island and the Bering Strait coast for more snow and gusty winds causing some blowing and drifting conditions there, and that's out tonight through tomorrow. Looking at the satellite imagery from yesterday, we had dissipating front here over the southeast coast, just some clouds left over by the late afternoon. A lot of moisture down here to the south, again streaming northwestward and rolling right into the Kodiak Island area, North Gulf Coast. High clouds spreading up to the north there, and some snow also over the northwest areas. And on today, I see the low center coming toward the Alaska Peninsula this afternoon, and the front right about through here, just north of Kodiak, rain changing to showers in that area with rain all the way up into Prince William Sound. Nice day, sunshine here over the southeast coast. Were some areas low clouds and fog persisting throughout much of the day, and variably cloudy over the Copper River Basin, and a lot of cirrus here over the interior, but basically dry most areas. And with the trough axis right through here, southeast winds here to the east of the trough, and then winds, colder air coming down, bringing some snow showers into the Pribilof Islands this afternoon, as well as into the eastern Aleutians, and some pretty good snow showers rolled across Adak this afternoon, all the way out to Shemya, and the colder air over the western and southern Bering Sea. On the chart, this is roughly the position of the front this afternoon, about St. Lawrence Island there across the Yukon Delta, on down across Fognak and the Barren Island areas, and that gave storm force southeast winds there through the Barrens into Kamishak Bay and Augustine Island, with gusts above 60 miles an hour at times. Rain along the North Gulf Coast here, right into mainly western Prince William Sound, cutting off around Cordova, and then you get into the sunshine toward Yakutat and the southeast coast. And still enough gradient here across the Alaska range to keep those wind advisories up again through tonight as well. Snow, periods of light snow, areas of light snow over the Yukon Delta, and that worked its way north there toward Nome during the afternoon hours, and back down again with the low center here, pulling some snow showers into the Pribilofs. Another low center again, the one coming up toward the peninsula today, that made for cloudy skies, a lot of showers or showery conditions there over the southeast coast, and then the snow showers back out to the west. Otherwise, again, the interior saw a dry day today, just a few flurries in areas along the Arctic coast like Kaktovik, Barrow, Cape Lisburne, and those areas. For tonight, it should become mostly dry here, especially on the east side there, offshore flow pushing the clouds back to the west. Front edging its way eastward here, right across northern Cook Inlet. Again, the main rain area, precipitation will be across the Prince William Sound area, southern Kenai Peninsula, western Cook Inlet. Occasional rain for Kodiak Island, and this low center pulling up into Bristol Bay, crossing the peninsula around midnight tonight and up into the western Bristol Bay area. That'll keep conditions windy here across King Salmon and breezy up all the way to the Seward Peninsula, with a mixture of rain and snow over the southwest interior, staying mainly snow, whatever precipitation falls here for the Norton Sound, Seward Peninsula area, and again St. Lawrence Island, where the winter weather advisory remains out, and areas of light snow possible there from Kivalina up to maybe Point Lay. And clear over the eastern interior. Snow showers continue, scattered snow showers here over the Aleutians, and not much change through tomorrow, although another storm beginning to come northward and develop. So in the afternoon, the winds will become east there over the eastern Aleutians. Moisture spreading northward. Could start out as snow there for Adak and Atkin and tend to mix in the afternoon with just scattered snow showers back to the west. We've got the one low pulling back over the northwestern Bering Sea there, and that's going to keep snow showers in over the Pribilof Islands. Still some snow for St. Lawrence Island. And then this trough here, the original low that tonight will be in Bristol Bay, weakens and pulls northward. So that's going to keep some precipitation in over Bristol Bay, and especially the Yukon and Kuskokwim Delta. Mixed precipitation there, and mostly snow again, St. Lawrence Island to the Bering Strait and Nome, maybe as far east as Golovin. Otherwise, pretty good winds with this. Could see 20 gusting 40 miles an hour here from Bristol Bay coming up into the southern Kuskokwim Valley, and pretty breezy back up across the Seward Peninsula. Lighter winds and less clouds over the eastern and central interior tomorrow. So pretty good day again, the Tanana Valley, the Koyukuk all the way up to the eastern Arctic coast. Should stay dry, just a few clouds there on the western coastline. And this remains of the frontal system there, kind of hung up in the southeasterly wind flow aloft. That's going to keep some showers along the southern coast of the Kenai Peninsula. Chance of showers for Kodiak Island, but most of the activity will be back to the west, although that may swing through tomorrow evening and enhance the showers a little bit then. But still looking at some rain showers there along the North Gulf Coast, kind of diminishing throughout the day tomorrow. Scattered rain and snow showers over south central Alaska. Otherwise fair here with mostly clear skies over the eastern interior, all the way down into the Panhandle. Mostly sunny tomorrow, again, areas of low clouds and patchy fog. And then the outlook for Wednesday, higher pressure to the north here. That's going to kick the winds up and over the inside waters, looking for gales for northern Lynn Canal, and pretty gusty conditions, but lighter winds along the coast. And during the afternoon, this moisture traveling north and northwest along that trough axis will begin to work its way in toward Dixon Entrance, and then by Wednesday evening may affect the places like Heidelberg, maybe Annette and Ketchikan and those areas, but it'll stay dry to the north. Got high pressure in over the interior, and variably cloudy here to the west. Pretty dry conditions with partly cloudy skies, light winds for Kodiak Island. Still a chance of snow, some of that leftover moisture, Golovin, White Mountain, and Nome, and also up here over the northwest as well, Red Dog, Noatak Valley out toward Point Hope. And then a big storm comes in. That one develops and pulls northward throughout the day. By late in the afternoon, this may pull northward into the southern Bering Sea, and the front right about in this position. So we've got gale and storm force winds, southeasterlies in advance of the low. Back on the western side, northwest winds up to 50 or 55 knots there, coming around and beginning to work in toward Adak, with big increase in the winds here over the eastern Bering Sea and the Alaska Peninsula, but basically dry. And again, still a chance of snow for St. Lawrence Island. Temperatures this afternoon along the southeast coast, all in the 30s, 32 at Juneau as well as Petersburg, 36 at Klawock and Annette, with Sitka, one of the warmer locations, at 39. but up to 45 at Cordova with a 39 in Seward, 32 this afternoon at Valdez, 40 degrees both in Homer and Kenai, 33 in Palmer, and a 28 at Talkeetna, 17 degrees there at Gulkana, Northway 5 below zero, but in the mid-20s there over the Tanana Valley areas, 12 degrees at Fort Yukon, and then back into the mid-20s there at Bettles, then down to 10 at Anatuvik, Umiat 3 below zero, Kaktovik at 1, 5 in Barrow, 12 at Point Lay, lower 20s there toward Cape Lisburne, and then lower 30s here with Kivalina at 33, 34 at Kotzebue, 27 at Shishmaref, lower 30s there, Nome, and over toward Teller with 30 degrees at Savunga. Otherwise, Marshall up to 39 this afternoon, 26 in McGrath, Sparrowvon at 40, upper 30s, or mostly in the 30s there, a little cooler out toward the coast. Mid-30s for the Pribilofs with 28 this afternoon with the snow showers at Shimia. Lower to mid-30s here for the central Aleutians, upper 30s and lower 40s, the Alaska Peninsula on up into Bristol Bay. And for the lows tonight, near a little below zero from the Copper River Basin across the upper Yukon Valley areas, and single numbers up on the North Slope and Arctic coast. But again, very mild conditions here, upper 30s to near 40 Kodiak Island into Bristol Bay with 20s to lower 30s all the way up to the Seward Peninsula there, and upper 20s right up into the northwest interior. 29 the forecast low for St. Paul, mid to upper 20s for the western and central Aleutian areas, and 20s to lower 30s for the southeast coast. Highs for tomorrow, again a day much like today here for the Panhandle, temperatures right around in the 30s, upper 20s to mid 30s south central Alaska, lower 40s Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay right up towards Sparrowvon, and 30s to near 40 here over the southwest interior. Above freezing temperatures all the way up into the Noatak Valley tomorrow, with teens along the Arctic coast and even the upper Yukon Valley, Arctic Village rising above zero. For the flying weather, got VFR here for the most part overall for the southeast coast. Again, areas of IFR where it's fogged in, and eastern interior areas, Copper River Basin, all the way up to the Arctic coast looking VFR. Flying IFR here along the eastern side of the western Alaska Range, and then areas IFR back over the southwest interior, northward there, St. Lawrence Island, the Bering Strait, and the southern Seward Peninsula, and marginal VFR for the Alaska Peninsula. Marginal VFR, not too bad here out over the Aleutians with some VFR conditions there for Unalaska, Nikolsky, possibly Atka as well. Passes, Anatuvik, VFR, Adigan, VFR, and Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR, lowest conditions again on the eastern entrances like we've seen for the last several days. Same forecast for rainy, windy VFR. Isabel, no change. Both Isabel and Mentasta VFR tomorrow. Tanita staying VFR. Portage, marginal VFR times, again lowest on the eastern entrance. And for Chilkoot and White, another day where it's VFR. Freezing levels showing the impulses of warm air moving northward on the south-southeasterly wind flow with 4,000 feet right over the central interior and up over the North Slope and Arctic coast, and then 2,000 to 4,000 feet, or mainly about 4,000 feet here over the Panhandle, and cooler conditions back out over the Bering Sea, but still we've got the surface all the way up late tonight, early tomorrow morning to the north side of the Seward Peninsula. As far as icing goes tomorrow, the southeast flow keeping chance of icing here in areas of south central Alaska, Prince William Sound, between about 2,000 to 12,000 feet, and another swath here from the Alaska Peninsula right up the southwest coast of the Bering Strait, maybe running as high as 8,000 to 10,000 feet of the light to very isolated moderate rime varieties. And for the winds aloft, south winds or south-southeasterlies at about 100 knots here coming across Kodiak Island all the way up to the Arctic coast there with that big area of high pressure up over the Northwest Territories there near the border, with southwest flow coming into the eastern Aleutians with the main trough back out to the west. And 9,000 feet, pretty strong winds here, 50 to 70 knots or 40 to 70 knots over the western interior. Lighter over the east side, much lighter over the Panhandle in the Gulf of Alaska. South winds with that next storm starting to pick up, but staying south of the Aleutians through tomorrow. Pretty light winds here over the central Bering Sea. 3,000-foot winds look something like this. Southwest 25 to 30 knots, stronger here from Bristol Bay over the southwest interior, about 50 knots. 40 to 50 knot winds there for the Seward Peninsula to the Noatak Valley, and then about 10 to 20 here through the central interior areas with light winds for the southeast coast. The Arctic coast, easterlies at about 35 on the east side. As far as turbulence goes, look for some light to isolated moderate chop up there on the far eastern Arctic coast and the west side, but in the turquoise shaded area here, occasional moderate below about 6,000 feet. Bristol Bay, up across the southwest there, the southern Kuskokwim Valley, right across the Seward Peninsula and the northwest coast into the Chukchi Sea, but pretty smooth here. Central and eastern interior, Gulf of Alaska, southeast coast looking really smooth. And after the break, I'll take a look at the marine forecasts.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor with the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation. I also manage the Aviation Safety Program at the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health here in Anchorage. Thanks to Alaska Public Media for allowing us to bring you hangar flying, and thanks to our viewers for watching. This evening, we are honored to have Mr. Bernie Willis on our show. Bernie is the president of Chapter 42 of the Experimental Aircraft Association. Bernie has a wealth of aviation experience and knowledge. He is an aircraft mechanic with inspection authorization. He's flown all over Alaska as a commercial pilot and as a general aviation pilot, and he's retired from a major airline. Welcome to the show, Bernie.
Thank you.
I'd like to start by chatting about your work with the Experimental Aircraft Association. I know that EAA has a focus on recreational flying, building, and restoring aircraft. What types of activities do the members of our local Chapter 42 participate in?
Chapter 42 is made up of men and women who are interested in building, restoring, and flying airplanes that they primarily have built themselves. There are folks who have certified airplanes as well. In our group, we have almost any profession you could think of. There's engineers, there's physicians, professional pilots, students. It's unique in that once you're at an EA meeting, you're there to contribute to everybody else's enjoyment, understanding of maybe electronic principles or painting or welding or riveting or how to fly an airplane. The titles that you may have in your professional life just dissolve when you get to EAA because we're all focused on this airplane thing.
So it's that common love of aviation that kind of ties everybody together.
It really is.
Okay.
It really is.
You've done some pretty interesting auctions of aircraft projects in the past, and you just had one with the auction of an RV-10. What other kind of projects have you auctioned off?
Our first auction was a Bowers Flybaby, and let's see. Then our next donation was a Q2, and let's see. We had another auction which was a Glass Star. It's a high-wing fiberglass airplane. So I think it was a Glass Star first, then the Flybaby, and then the last one's been the RV-10. Yes.
And what's the goal of these project auctions?
Often when a project is begun, the builder has gotten into a project that they find is more than they can handle, or life happens and things change, priorities change, but they have a lot of themselves in the project. They don't want to just discard it. So the EAA is a good place to take the project. You know, some chapters actually have a hangar and they will build something as a group, but we don't have that. So what we do then is take these projects and put them up for bid, which raises money for the chapter, and somebody gets a project typically at a discount, and oftentimes, you know, well underway.
Well, that's nice. It sounds like it's kind of a group activity too, where people can chip in and help or provide some expertise that they might have.
What usually happens is somebody gets well into a project and then they reach a roadblock. How do I do the next step? And so they come to the chapter, they call up people who are working on similar models. People have been through that roadblock before.
Sure.
And they get a boost, get through it, go on.
Are there any special requirements to join EAA? Do people need to be pilots or mechanics or own airplanes?
It takes $24 for an individual member, and then you must also be a member of the National EAA organization, which is another $40.
Okay.
So there are no experience prerequisites at all, just an interest which you display with your money.
And where can people go to join Chapter 42 or to find out more information? Does the website work?
Yes, the website is the best contact, EAA42.org
Okay.
for our local chapter, and then EAA.org for the national organization. And on our website, you can find all the contact numbers, email addresses for all of the officers. I just got an email out of the blue from a fellow in Valdez last week. He says, I'm trying to build an RV, I think it was a 7, and I need some help. Does anybody in your chapter know about an RV7? And I was able to give him the emails for 3 different members so he can pursue it.
Oh, great.
See what he can find.
So Chapter 42 is also a wonderful resource, it sounds like, for people that are out there that
Well, it
might
is.
need some help.
There's mechanics, pilots, we've had electrical engineers. There's probably somebody there or somebody there who knows somebody who can answer the questions.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you so much for being with us, Bernie. We're going to have you back on our next show and talk some more about EAA.
Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, until next time, fly safely.
Welcome back. Looking at the sea ice analysis today, a little bit there in Kuskokwim Bay and then on up to south of St. Lawrence Island. Over the next 4 or 5 days with the southerly winds, I wouldn't look for too much advance in the sea ice here, maybe probably retreating back some. And for this marine forecast here, east winds 15 knots on the north coast, northeast at the same speed down to the south. Seas running 13 to 15 feet here, so small craft advisories all through that area. Small craft advisories, northern Lynn Canal for those winds up to 25, and then diminishing on down toward the south there to just 10 in Clarence Strait. For Wednesday, we've got easterly winds at 15 to 20 knots all along the coast, and then the stronger winds will be here over the inside waters. Gale force northerlies for northern Lynn Canal with higher gusts all through these areas, but again, that downward trend toward the southern areas to northeast at 20 for Clarence Strait. For Prince William Sound tomorrow, east winds at some point in the day 25 knots and then diminishing, northeast 15 for Cook Inlet. Small craft advisories for southern Cook Inlet all the way down to Shelikof Strait, and also small craft advisories southeast 25 to 30 for the North Gulf Coast and southerlies here east side of Kodiak Island right up into the Barrens. Then for Wednesday, winds become pretty light and variable here for Kodiak Island, 10 knots with less in the way of sea heights. North 15 for the Kamishak Bay region, northwest 15, pretty light for the Barren Islands and the North Gulf Coast. Light northeast winds for Prince William Sound and northern Cook Inlet. Out west, Bristol Bay, southeast winds 30 knots tomorrow, southwesterlies at 30 across the Alaska Peninsula with some gale force southerlies there from Castle Cape up to Sitkinak. And then the next day, again, the peninsula here feeling the effects of that big storm coming to the central Aleutians. So we've got strong gales developing, 40 to 45 knots there out of the southeast, and small craft advisories increasing to southeast, 25 to 30 knots there from southwest of Kodiak into Bristol Bay. Out west, farther into the Aleutians, southerlies at about 20, turning east at 25 here west of Adak. Otherwise, the central Aleutians east to southeast, 15 to 20 knots, and south to southwest, 20 for the Fox Islands. Then on Wednesday, during the day, that low center early in the day will be south of the Aleutians, and then into the afternoon will be pulling north. So these winds eventually go west at 40 knots there, north of the chain, but that may take until early evening to happen. Definitely storm force westerlies here south of Adak and Atka, northwest storm force winds diminishing back towards Shemya, and then storms coming into the picture, 50 to 55 knots south-southeasterlies for the Fox Islands. For the southwest coast, small craft advisories here for the Pribilofs, and same thing, south 25 south of Nunivak Island, and westerlies at 25 for the northern Bering Sea. Strongest winds St. Lawrence Island out of the southeast. And then for Wednesday, we've got brisk wind advisories again for St. Lawrence Island, and small craft advisories here for the Bering Sea and the southwest coast, southeast 30 knots, 10-foot seas, 40-knot gales for the Pribilofs with 24-foot seas. Up along the Arctic coast tomorrow, strongest winds east side there, gale force easterlies. Otherwise, brisk wind advisories the entire rest of the way here for east winds, and then from Wales to Cape Beaufort, southeast direction, but still looking at 30 knots in those areas. Then things become more southerly out there in the west here. 30 knots up to Cape Beaufort, 25 knots, so we've got brisk wind advisories, and then they drop back a little bit and turn more southeasterly for the central coast, and then pick back up to 30 knots over toward Demarcation Point. And for tonight again, dry and mostly fair or clear here over the eastern interior and the Panhandle with patchy fog. This low pulling northward, gusty winds and rain, Kodiak Island. The front moving eastward a little bit there, keeps it damp in Prince William Sound, but not much precipitation through this area. Most of it will be back out toward the coast. And then for tomorrow, that trough weakens and lifts northward there, so some pretty good winds and precipitation with that. But again, cutting off to the east, weakening front over south central Alaska. Another nice day for the Panhandle. And the next day, Wednesday, looks good too, especially through the eastern central interior.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.